start. Has everybody signed in that wishes to speak at the public hearing? Is everybody signed in?
Yep.
This is just for the public hearing at the beginning of the meeting. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the May 12th Town Board work session. They ask everybody to please silence your cell phones and rise for pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I'd ask for a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you very much. We'll start off with a public hearing for the President's Park concept plan. Bridget, you want to read those?
Supervisor Broadwick and council members, the planning board meeting in regular session on April 17th, 2025 reviewed a concept plan for 5-4 development, President's Park Apartment Complex,
Bridget,
Washington.
give the legal ad. Give the legal ad. We don't need to- hold on one second. We just want to read the legal ad.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Lewiston, Niagara County, New York, on the 12th day of May 2025, commencing at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Town Hall, 1375 Bridge Road, Lewiston, New York, to hear and consider the following property and property owner applicant. The owner and applicant, 5-4 Development Corporation, property location, Washington Drive, between Madison and Jefferson, Town of Lewiston, County of Niagara, State of New York. To consider application for a negative declaration and concept plan review for the President's Park apartment complex on said premises. All interested parties will be heard by the Town Board and the Town of Lewiston at said public hearing. A full copy of the application is available for review at the Town of Lewiston Building Inspector's office during normal business hours.
Okay, thank you. Everybody will have 4 minutes to speak. So I'll start with John Murniak.
John Murniak, 706 Ridge Road, Lewiston. A year ago, this project was before the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I was at that meeting, and I had hoped that this thing would be got on arrival, okay? And they did. The Zoning Board did their job, okay? And wouldn't agree to the 210 units. They got approval for 160 some. Wanted to build 158. Now they want to add 52 more units, okay, increasing the density in that particular parcel of land. Now, I mean, the code, due to the loophole that's in the code, it allowed the developer to come to the town board to override what the zoning board said. All right, these 52 units. If you told me that we were building 52 more units because we want to provide housing for military veterans or something that need places to live, or maybe some people that low income or something, and the board approved it because of that reason, I could probably go along with it. But that's not what this is. This is high dollar amount stuff, and all it is you want 252 more units. That's a lot more money that we can make. That's what this is all about, okay? This decision that you guys did to allow this, that affects, a development that is right in my neighborhood, okay? Because, that developer needs a same type of situation where, he needs to have you guys obviously agree to allow him to do what he wants to do. By agreeing to do this with this developer, you just open the door for all these other guys to say, look, you did it for him. Now listen, this town doesn't do spot zoning anymore, right? Yeah, that's right. But look at, we're doing something very similar to that on this development, okay? I mean, you're just creating a situation where follow the code, all right? And and I know that 2 years ago now, in this very room, 4 of these board members sat in a kickoff meeting to revise the town code. In that revision of the town code, if you want to change the density and open it up for everybody, you can do that, all right? That would have been a year ago maybe, but now we're 2 years later and we're still not there. So I'm against this whole thing, and for that reason. It's 52 more units in that particular parcel of land that's right north of the woods of Blairville and all the apartments there. Come on, guys,
Thank you, Mr. Murniak. David Montanti.
Do I say my name?
Yeah, say your name.
My name is Dave Montanti. I live at 1597 Youngstown Lockport Road. I'm here in protest of this project for several reasons. First, the sewage treatment plant that's going to take the sewage from here cannot handle anymore. There was an individual here from the plant specifically said it cannot handle anymore. It's too much. The sewage treatment plant is taxed beyond belief. We have a world-class fishery here. They are allowed to dump raw sewage into that river when there's high rainfalls or any other reason that it's overloaded. We don't need that. We don't need that getting out either. A lot of money's made here on fishing. It should be really considered about that. The other issue, traffic is out of control. It's really out of control on Creek Road in the morning. I mean, insane. Another issue. The 3F Club, which I'm a member of, will lose usage of several hundred feet of their property because of the 500-foot firearm discharge rule. Don't really see why it's necessary to put these buildings that close to our property. If they wanted to move it over a little more, that'd be fine with me. But we're losing that usage of our property, and we've had it for years without any issues at all. You know, and I would really hope that the board would consider what I just said to them and stop this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elizabeth Coffey.
Elizabeth Coffey, 3558 East Avenue, Youngstown. I am the recording secretary of the 3F Club. I have a couple of concerns that I'd like to bring to light. We were at a meeting in February, I believe, with the town planning board, and at that time, they closed the public forum for the planning board meetings, but it was advised that there would need to be an update made to the seeker. The planning board had not made an official vote on whether or not this project was gonna pass the planning phase, the initial planning part, and then it was pulled off their agenda the following month. Nothing has been advised. Did it pass the planning board in the initial phase? Is it ready to move forward? Was there an updated seeker that was completed, and was that put back out to the public to have knowledge about what was in those plans? There were several things that were discussed that night about updates that needed to get made about the size of the drainage pond and various other little things in their plans, and then nothing was ever said. So where did that go at that point from planning board to where we are this evening, where it's coming to public forum with the town board? Did we skip some steps in there? I'm just misunderstanding how we got to where we are with discussing it this evening, when it sounded as though the planning board still had things to discuss on their side.
Tim, you want to answer that?
At the last planning board meeting, which I think one of your members was at, the town engineer updated the seeker, approved the seeker, and the planning board recommended approval of the negative declaration and approval to the board, which they'll read.
Which is why we're now at this.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so then beyond that, my other concerns are what this type of unit and property will do to the property that we have sat on since the 1940s. The way that the property is butting up against the 3F Club property, it is in an area that is near our rifle range, which has huge concerns for us. We have the appropriate size berms. We have the appropriate size, footage from where we shoot to where our property line is. As a mother and an educator, my mind knows that that's not gonna stop a curious child from exploring in the woods. Oh, I hear some gunshots. Let me go seek that out and see what that looks like. The other concerns that we have are that an area of our property has a fairly substantial woodland duck population in the area where they're talking about the new development would back up to in our property. Things have been thrown around like, okay, well, we could put up a fence. Well, that's gonna have negative effects on the habitats of that wildlife that live in that area. Okay, well, they did make amendments and they shifted things back, I believe, if I'm incorrect, let me know, 250 feet from what your original plan was. Great, but then as Dave Montanti mentioned, that still inhabits us to have to make sure that we are an additional 250 feet into our own property more than what we were, so that we're within that 500 feet appropriate range. So I have concerns about that. I am a Town of Porter resident, but I travel quite a bit through Town of Lewiston. I have concerns about the traffic, concerns about, as he said, about the sewage system. We were told that studies would be done, if there are dates that could be made available of those things, like DOT studies, sewage treatment plant studies. I would be interested in being told about those dates and information once the studies are completed.
Okay, thank you very much. Clayton Miller?
Excuse me, Clay Miller, 4557 Creek Road. To make sure I stay on time, I've actually written things down.
Okay, well, yeah. I'm just trying to
3 minutes and
figure
40
it out.
seconds. I timed it. So I want to frame my points on why this project should stop, based on the commitments actually all of you folks made to us while you were running for the positions you hold today. So these are just quotes. Mr. Jacoby, and I quote, "Developers design a project with no chance of meeting town codes and then ask for a waiver to make it compliant. This is done to maximize developers' profits at the objection of nearly all the residents." End of quote. This project has changed a lot. I've been at every meeting, and it's changed about 20 times, and that's not hyperbole. The recent increase in density was given so 5-4 development, because they said they needed a business model to work for market rate apartments. But no offense to my friends with 3F Club, nobody's paying market rate apartments in Lewiston to live next to a gun club, okay? Everyone here knows this, I think. The end game here, if we're all being honest with ourselves, is subsidized housing. You do not ask for a larger footprint or something if you have a failing business model, which they said they did. You actually make something smaller. The only way that you have the knowledge that you can reimburse for your investment is if you had a subsidy, right? And actually there's for sale signs on the property now. This is from Business First, based on the project, and I quote, "The owner is seeking a developer to buy the land and push it over the finish line. This project should not go forward until the land is sold. The new owners, when that has happened, new owners can come in here and explain their plans to all of us. 5-4, and if this happens, 5-4 development will say, it's not our fault, we didn't make it subsidized housing, it was the new owners. Then you guys are gonna have to explain why what happened at Blairville happened again. Mr. Moriel, we need to ensure that the Lewiston we leave our children and grandchildren is a better community. Amen to that. Ms. Wacher, I hope I got that right. The planning code need to be cleaned up, and the town comprehensive plan needs to look at it as well. Is there a plan for what happens when this new project is built? You have all the people from the new unit, Blairville, a couple hundred golfers making a left or a right-hand turn at Hickory Stick, and the entirety of the Lewiston Porter School District barreling down Creek Road at 55 miles an hour. Is there a comprehensive plan for what happens then? Mr. Myers, the goal is to look out for the best interest of our people and make sure that infrastructure is well maintained. We get a once in a 100-year water event now, it seems like every single year. We keep adding and adding without addressing the current problem. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Broderick. And I quote, "The tone of my administration is to do the right thing over politics as usual. The taxpayers need to know that they have a partner at Town Hall who will follow through and who is committed to the long-term bettering of this community. If we do indeed have leaders who will do the right thing and are committed to the long-term betterment of Lewiston, then this project will stop tonight. The developers can go back to the drawing board, come up with a plan that the town wants, needs, and is reasonable. Or, when they sell the land, the new owners can present their vision of the project to all of us. And if the intent changes from market rate to subsidized housing, let's talk it out. That's what government's for. We should have that ability to have the best information to make our decisions. And if you remember, during Blairville, the public was sold on luxury apartments. Then it became a retirement community. Now it's none of those things. So, in closing, I think, as someone else said, every developer, every government asset has done their job here. It's time, as all of you have said, You want what's best for the community. There is no one outside a very select few who can reasonably say this project will make Lewiston a better place.
Rick Horton.
My name is Rick Horton. I live at 4568 Streetway across from Washington Drive. First of all, the traffic from the golf course is outrageous. Can you imagine putting 200 more units of families there? It's just not gonna happen. It's gonna be too much for her. I'm also the vice president of the fire hall. Who's gonna do all these calls for all these people? You know what I mean? We're volunteers. We're struggling now. And you wanna put 200 something more units there. I mean, I can only be honest. And then the other thing that bothers me is, I found out on Facebook yesterday about this. I live there. I should have been notified. You know what I mean? I live right across the street. Why are people not getting notified of what's happening before any project like this? There's just not. I moved from Niagara Falls because I don't want subsidized housing. I don't want people. I want them to get away from the ghetto. I don't need to put more here. And if you look at Blairville, it's the ghetto of Lewiston. Okay, they let anybody move in there. So you got to look at what's going to happen to all that. You know what I mean? And what our properties are going to go downhill. There's going to be so many accidents. It's going to be ungodly real because there's not enough for that traffic for all the cars and stuff. It's just not going to happen. There's going to be so many accidents. It's going to be so many people getting hurt. Like you said, we don't have the sewer for it. Just too many things against it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Tim Gunther.
No, you're good.
Good evening, my name is Tim Gunther. I'm a resident of 4540 Porter Center Road. Also, I'm the 3F president of 904 Swan. I've been here before. You guys heard my concerns about the rifle range like Liz stated. The duck marsh pond, which their retention pond is right up against where our marsh pond is for our duck habitat. Other concerns we have is Blairville. Now they're, that whole situation changed from what it was originally planned to what it is now. We're all right cleaning up makeshift party areas from adolescents and kids and stuff in the woods right there from Blairville. I see this being another problem with this project. I've seen you guys turn down people for variances for 2 foot extra on their fences, and it only affects them. And I cannot believe that you're gonna let this monstrosity happen. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, this time I ask for a motion to close the public hearing. I'll make that motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. There'll be no action taken on this tonight. So, we want to hear what everybody had to say. And, that's it, so. I didn't see it. Okay, moving on to the work session, agenda approval. I need to add, Juneteenth holiday under my liaison report. Al, did you have something to do with the agenda?
We were going to add it to,
Yeah, I'm going to add it.
What is that?
It's local law number 1,025, we're going to call for a public meeting.
it's the code enforcement.
Yeah, code.
Anybody else have anything?
I have a reservation right here.
Anybody else? Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes from the April 28th regular town board meeting. in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Abstract of claims, Councilman Moria.
First one I have, I move to approve the regular abstract of claims 25-01061 through 25-01217, and recommend payment in the amount of $668,671.23 with no post on. That's a motion.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And I have another one, I move to approve the regular abstract of claims 25-01218 through 25-01219, recommend total payment in the amount of $1,887.87. That's the motion.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Department head statements. Chief, anything?
Good.
Tim, anything? Amy?
On the agenda or say now for the.
We'll wait till the agenda. Jackie, you're on the agenda. Deputy Supervisor Conrad, anything? Amy Zano, anything? Our highway superintendent Mitch was excused. Jeff?
Yes, I have something. A few months ago, during a routine inspection, was noticed that there was a leak that formed in one of our digester man doors. The leak was working its way through a piece of 1/4-inch steel. We had a company come in and repair the leak with epoxy cement. As during its use, the digester is full, and we can't use any welding equipment on it because it's very flammable. The digesters were always scheduled for an overhaul, as they've been in service since the late 70s. And only one of the two has ever been cleaned or emptied, I should say, in all that time. Instead of getting into the details of how these things work or what's going bad on them, I would love to have anybody come to the plant for a tour and we can go through these things. I contacted GHD, as they have engineers and staff who are well versed in digester rehab and replacement at water treatment plants. This also coincided with the town's capital 5-year plan. So I wanted to find out how much that this was going to cost. To continue with this project and determine what the costs will be, and have GHD continue with the engineering, it's going to cost us $27,100. And that is just to continue on with the engineering to find out how much this stuff is going to cost us. Now, eventually, I think we're looking into the millions of dollars, and we may have to go to bond and talk to the other 4 communities about how we're going to pay for this, how we're going to tackle this. This is a huge job, and as I may have mentioned it in an email, I feel that this is an imminent threat. And the fact is, if we have a catastrophic failure, it's going to cost a lot of money. So I would really like to meet the challenge head on and start moving towards replacement or rehab of our digester and our grit removal system. So I have an engineering report. To get an engineering report and a map plan and report of how to handle the situation, I need to sign a piece of paper letting the engineers know that they can go on further from this point. So I'm asking the board if I could go ahead and sign this paperwork and continue on with the engineering that we're doing.
What's the exact dollar amount on that?
It is $27,100.
Jackie, you and I and Jeff through email talked about it. He has enough money, and you said SS1.
So it would be SS1, and even though we didn't budget for this, I think that we can move some wants around throughout the year and be able to pay for this.
And SS1 could support that?
Yeah,
Okay.
fund balance, yeah.
So what I would need is a motion to move forward to have GHD, for $27,100 out of SS1 fund balance, proceed with, basically they're gonna give you, say it again?
They're gonna give us, an engineering report on what we need to do to take the next steps. And there is a lot of stuff, okay? Now, if these things are taken out of service, we still have something, we still have to do stuff with our sludge, okay? So there's gonna be trucking costs, there's gonna be a lot of costs that we might not think about, just thinking about replacing the lids on the digester. So, I'm hoping that this is not gonna hit us, too bad, but I'm still, I'm looking at millions of dollars here. I
So is
believe.
this, from this engineering study, you'd be able to develop your scope of work?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, all right.
And the amount.
It'll be the scope of work, the amount, and what we're gonna have to do to try to make the project happen correctly.
Okay, so you, expect that this is there will be no other engineering that you'll need beyond this, or do you think that you'll need additional engineering?
I don't think we'll need additional engineering once we do, hire the right people to do the work.
You know, with this board, we don't kick the can down the road, we try not to. When will you gonna have a meeting with the other communities involved in this sort of thing?
Well, I can let them know that could be a dark cloud in the future, but I would like to have some dollar amounts before we actually have a meeting down at the plant with the four communities.
Okay, and then, I also know that you sent out the percentages. Do you have those percentages as far as how much the municipalities that utilize the sewer plant?
Well,
I think
that.
it's like 58% for Lewiston.
Yeah, Lewiston has about 57%, and then the other communities have lesser amounts, and that every year we do a sewer use agreement with the other communities, and going through Jackie, we figure out what the bond payment is for those communities. Now, we took a bond out in 2010 for $3.6 million, and we're still paying on that, and it's probably gonna be a few years yet, don't you think, Jackie? Just to pay that one off. So this is not, something that we wanna do. I think it's something that we're gonna have to do. 1978, they were built, and only one of them has been taken out of service to do anything to. So we've got a lot of issues and a lot of it's a balancing act. I really don't want to have a catastrophic event, so I would like to start moving things in a certain direction.
Well, I'll make the motion, in order to have Jeff sign the paperwork to allow for, $27,100 to be spent from the SS1 budget to, work on the grinders then.
Second digester.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Any more questions for Jeff?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Jeff, obviously, you wouldn't be doing this unless you thought this is probably the very best course, and no real option other than that.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Amy Smith in the clerk's office.
We got some quotes for blinds to, cause for all the new windows, we wanted to have blinds put in, especially on the south side of the building where all the sun is hitting us, and, so I got 3 quotes, and I'm gonna ask the board for approval for Dan Mills installation for $7,090 to provide the blinds.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second. I'm gonna read all 3 prices real quick. So Dan Mills was $7,090, budget lines was $10,144.65, and Curtain for curtains was $13,680. So with that, we have a motion and a second.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Because the nomenclature is different throughout, I'm assuming that these are UV filtering as far as, and that will help reduce as far as the, energy use?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Nothing under old pending business, nothing under new business, under Supervisor Broderick. Our liaison report in front of you, everybody has a Teamsters, Teamsters local union number 264, which is our highway and water workers. This process took approximately 10 months. They have voted and approved the tentative agreement. I asked for, I will make a motion to approve the tentative agreement and authorize the supervisor to sign the collective bargaining agreement on, after it gets attorney approval.
Is there a motion?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Any questions?
Yes, I just had a question. I noticed it's on the back page, number 7, and it's retro pay for wages and benefits. The agreement is not reached by 12/31/2024.
Yes.
So would that be retroactive from today's date?
No, it would be retro back to January 1st.
Okay, January 1st, okay, thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good. Also, we have volunteer fire company contracts. We negotiated with the fire companies. We all agreed. The only one that is not included in here is Lewiston 1, and it's just basically some technical stuff on their contract. So I would ask, well, I'll make a motion, or actually, I'll need a motion, John, I'll have you make the motion, to approve the fire protection services agreement for Sanborn Fire Company, for Upper Mountain Fire Company, for Lewiston 2 Fire Company, and Ransomville Fire District.
Is it upward?
No, yeah, they're just the copies, yeah. So you wanna make that?
Yes,
motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve these, fire protection services agreement for all the fire companies excepting Lewiston 1, and, authorize supervisor to sign it.
Yes.
That's a motion.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And there's no slight against Lewiston 1, that'll be coming in the next meeting.
Right.
So. Now with that, after we, part of the issue with, anytime we honor federal holidays in the town, we have union contracts with, I believe it's 4 different unions. So it's not as easy as just approving federal holidays when they're approved at a federal level. So, we worked through it with the highway water contract that we just approved. And with that, I would like to make a motion, a resolution that be it resolved, that the town of Lewiston hereby recognizes Juneteenth as an official town holiday. And be it further resolved, the town officials' offices, will be closed on the same day yearly as United States federal offices are closed. And be it further resolved, that town employees will be afforded a paid holiday on that day in accordance with the town of Lewiston employee handbook and or collective bargaining agreements applicable to each employee and or union. And be it further resolved, the town of Lewiston employee handbook shall be amended in accordance with this action as a motion. Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So, Dan, I'm gonna ask you too, the water tank storage building repairs. So up off of Upper Mountain, about not even an eighth of a mile from Military Road is our water tank. We were advised of some situations there that needed repairs. These are the actual water storage building repairs, correct?
Yes.
So, so basically, we are approving Tim, correct me, we're approving GHD to go out and seek bids on this?
Correct.
Yeah. So, again, there's a list in here of some of the things that are done. I mean, the building is in, you wanna touch base at all? Tim, you've been up there a bunch of times.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a real big building, but it is a block building, and the roof started leaking, which water got down in the block and started pushing the walls out, so we got a bunch of regrouting. The sensitive part of it is you got all the equipment on the walls, electronic equipment, so they gotta work around that, put a new roof on it, 3-point all the block, and basically make the building whole again. So that's what the scope of work is in that big spec book.
Yeah, and we've been up there, I've been up there a few times, Dane's been up there. I was gonna ask you, I didn't have a chance to talk to you. Do you recommend fencing in that building too, for security purposes?
There's a
There's a fence or a gate to get in.
Right.
There's another fence to get in?
No, there's just one fence all there on the property.
Right.
One gate.
As far as that building itself, no, you don't think it's necessary? Okay. Okay, so I would, ask for a motion to move forward on the water storage building repairs and putting it up to bid.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, any questions? I would ask everybody if you get a chance to go up there and take a look at it. Like I said, you've been up there, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So, on Tuesday, of last week, we received our bids on our Riverfront Park Pavilion and Fishing Pier bid. This is a Greenway project. We've already secured funding through the Greenway on this. So, I would ask for a motion. I'll read the bids. Murdaugh Development Concrete Masonry was $987,850. Secoly Construction was $997,600. Essential Construction Services was $1,185,000. A1 Land Care was $1,203,489. And Miller Construction Services, doing business as Scott Lawnyard, was $1,281,480. I would ask for a motion to award the bid to Murdaugh Development Concrete Masonry at $987,850.
Second, or that's a motion.
Yeah, I'll second it. We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Can I just ask a question?
Yep.
Why is one so much cheaper? Do we have any idea?
Talked to the town engineer about it today, and he interviewed the person that was awarded the bid. And according to him, he just has less overhead than the larger companies.
Oh.
So he felt that was why he was comfortable with his number. He assured Dan Coltman from GHD that he was comfortable with the number, and just blamed it on simply has less overhead.
Yeah, no, that's a logical explanation. It's a little scary sometimes, that's.
Oh, believe me, I know.
Huge discrepancy.
Yeah.
I did that once when I was younger, and, 2-month project took 4 years.
Yeah.
No, that's all.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And just to let everybody know, we ran into this with our senior center lighting.
Right.
Our low bid was extremely low compared to everybody else, and we couldn't be happier with the work they did. So, I know Tim and Ed are gonna do a good job working with this company, making sure everything's done to plan, and, I feel comfortable with the staff we have to make sure it's done right. So. Jackie, budget revisions.
Yes, I previously submitted one budget revision for the fiscal year 2025 in your board packets, and tonight I ask for approval.
I reviewed it with Jackie, and I'll make the motion. Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. That's it for budget. Going to the investment report.
Yep. So we have a 1-year CD currently with Bank on Buffalo, and we received our quarterly interest on, just early, May 5th. And we received, $50,793.29.
Jacoby.
Yes, we have we finished writing up the code enforcement laws, local law number 1 of 2025, and did a great job with it. A lot of work. And we need tonight to call for a public hearing, and that would be 2 weeks from tonight. I believe that's on May 29th at 6 p.m.
Actually, 2.5 weeks because of the holiday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's May 29th at 6 p.m. And it's pretty straightforward, and there's a copy available in the inspections that people want to look at. That's it. Now I'm recommending that's a motion for the call for the public hearing.
So a motion and a second for a public hearing on March 29th at 6 p.m. May 29th, March 29th, yeah, sorry about it. May 29th at 6 p.m.
Mr. Jacoby, the clerk also has a copy of it also.
Oh, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anything else, John?
No, I don't have anything tonight.
Councilman Morial.
I have a resident who's asking for sewer forgiveness of a new pool installed, Albert Celeste, 705 Scoville Drive, Lewiston, New York. He had a new pool installed with 15,000 gallons of water. He's asking for sewer forgiveness on that, which Jeff Ritter approved. It's the amount of $63.64. That's the motion to approve the $63.64.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Councilman Myers?
Just another reminder from the Sanborn Historical Society, they have their 4th One dinner fundraiser coming up on Saturday, May 17th, from 4 to 7, until they're sold out. And dine-in or takeout is $15 per adult, $10 per kids.
Okay. Councilwoman Wechter.
Yes, I have a resignation letter from Carol Schroeder at the Senior Center, and I'll read a portion of it. It is, Dear Melinda, it is with deep regret that I will not be able to fulfill my duties as Senior Services aide. I thank you for this opportunity and confidences in me. And we accept this letter of resignation with regret. So that would be a motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, Carol was actually looking forward to working with Senior Center. She just can't do it, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir. And then just
Go ahead.
last thing, I just want to thank the community for coming out for your comments this evening. So thank you.
Okay, we're not done with comments. John Murray, 416 Ridge Road.
760.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, 716. It's your handwriting, not my eyes.
Oh. Could be, you know, your shake a little bit. Now, gentlemen, have this road. Listen, 2 years ago, you guys kicked this thing off with, code revision. I mean, 2 years is a long time. Now, I understand from talking with Tim that, gone ahead and hired somebody to review the code and present some things for you guys. How close are you to having a public hearing or some public input into it?
We have a meeting Wednesday. I'm gonna be unable to attend, but Tim's gonna go. I think Rob's gonna be there. They have a schedule.
I don't remember when that first public hearing is, but I would say within a month.
Yeah. And you could call, they gave us basically A, B, C, D, how it's gonna go down. So.
Is that available online?
Or, I don't think it's posted online. If you wanna give Tim a call, I mean.
I got a copy in my office.
Do?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to putting it online, the dates.
Well, I mean, you know, something, I mean, I don't know who pays attention to the meetings that are online, you know? I mean, I haven't been able to come to the meetings because of a work commitment, but, you know, I pushed real hard for this, you know, a couple of years ago. And, you know, my drive at that point in time was small business in the town. And I still want to see something that addresses the availability of small businesses to operate in the town and support the residents. And the way the code is now, it's, you know, it has a lot of gray areas in it, places where it's, you know, it's hard, no, you can't do these things. We need to clean that part of it up, and I know when you had your kickoff meeting, you know, the clerk brought up, it's just something as simple as, you know, collecting the annual fees for the towers that are in the town, you know, that some were paying it, some weren't. What's our, you know, is the town collecting all the fees that are supposed to be collected? You know, I mean, I know this isn't a full-time job for any of you guys, so I'm glad to hear that you finally hired somebody.
I would argue that.
Yeah, okay, but the point is that, you know, if we're gonna be the best town in this area, you know, we need to address these things and not have, just like we did with this public hearing, you know, they're only here because of a loophole that's in the code. Otherwise, they would have got the zoning board of appeals said no, and that should have been the end of it. So, you know, that's my gist. You know, you guys know me, and you know that I pushed for this, and I'm glad that you did kick it off 2 years ago, but it's a long time, you know, a long time.
Yeah, and it was a bigger project, I think, that this board can sit down and do on their own, and that's why we hired Linda.
Well, and it is, okay, but I'm sure that Tim and his guys could give you a lot of great ideas on how, you know, how you could make the code better.
Just so you know, there's nothing in the code that's gonna allow a small business in an R1 district.
Correct, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, how do you address that? You know, you can address it. Other towns, look at what other towns have done. You know, I pointed out to Tim, you know, town of Pendleton, I own property in the town of Pendleton. They have a whole section in there for, you know, the rural residential, you know, that for small businesses to operate. You know, if you're an accountant or somebody like that, that's one section of the code. And there's another section if you're a small business and you have a couple of employees that show up every day, how you manage that. You know, if you have equipment, as long as that equipment's put in the building, at the end of the day, I mean, that's what's in the code for them. I can't believe that we can't do something here to address that, rather than have small businesses approach the town. I wanna start a business in the town, and I know they talk to you, Steve, and you point out on the map, hey, here's all this area where you could operate your business, but it's all owned 4 or 8% of the property is owned by the Lashudas. You know, they're not gonna allow anybody not sell anything.
So Tim will vouch for me. We sent a letter. We looked for some areas to do exactly what you're talking about. And you're here saying we need to have it, and all those were people were saying absolutely not.
Right.
So where's the win? Right? You're saying we want a small business location, and the places that we looked at doing it, which I thought made sense, every neighbor said, except for one, said, no way, we don't want small business. We don't want a tree trimming business, because we had one out there on Ridge Road that we had to stop. And it wasn't, you know, your business. And so for everybody saying yes, there's people that are saying no. So who, you know, that's the hard part, figuring out where we would put it.
Well, correct, okay, I mean, I understand that, but, you know, I'm not talking about, a Park Hill business. I mean, you know, Bill's way beyond where my son will ever be, you know, and Bill, you know, he did build a nice facility out on, you know, Saunders Summit 31 going into Lockport, because his business is gonna be all around, okay, just not focused on residents here in Lewiston. But there are businesses, for example, the guy that wanted to have a small repair shop, because he worked on foreign automobiles, okay? He ended up renting a place in Wilson to do that, okay? Now, if I own a vehicle in Coppins, and the local people here, can't service my vehicle, I gotta go to Wilson to get it done. Why? Why can't we have stuff like that here in this town? You know, I mean, you know, residents, we had to drive up on Military Road for things. So, you know, I mean, you know, it's just not residents, it's, you know, I mean, there's gotta be a balance. I agree with you, okay? Some businesses can operate in these areas.
I'd like to have more, Tim will vouch for me, I would like to have more areas that are businesses. As soon as you go in these other towns, there's areas along Ridge Road that have businesses. So I'm with you on that.
Well, look at what happened, you know, when my son, as an example, wanted to build out on Dickersonville and Langdon on the corner, way in the northeast corner of the town, and he couldn't do it.
Right.
He couldn't do it, right, because it wasn't zoned properly, but, you know, who would be bothered over there, you know, I mean.
Well, I know who's bothered by him now.
Well, I know, but that's, you know.
The people right next door to you, to him.
Yeah, I understand.
Which, I'll be honest with you, isn't fair what your son's doing down there at 7 whatever, but that's another story.
Yeah, I understand.
And I take complaints about that business too.
Yeah,
And you don't seem to care about that. You don't seem to care about that.
I'm sure, but you know.
Okay, well, thank you, you said your piece. Thank you.
To tell
plenty of
somebody
time.
to go to another town, I don't
Okay.
agree with that.
Thank you. So moving on, upcoming board commission meetings. Oh, I'm sorry, Jackie.
No, that's okay. I apologize. I need to make a correction in the amount of interest. The correct amount is $49,157.30. I apologize.
Mr. Supervisor, before you move on, I just thought of one last thing. With the resolution that you read earlier relative to, amending the handbook, would the board be willing to direct me to make that modification?
Well, I believe Tom Seaman was gonna take care of it,
Okay, so
just because it was through the
Understood.
tentative agreement.
Understood. I was just
Yeah.
volunteering to do it.
Yeah,
so-
no, I get it, and it's that gray area.
Fair enough, it's all good. As long as it got done, I didn't know, as long as he's gonna do it, you'll have it for approval, I would assume soon.
Okay. Upcoming board commission meetings, the historic preservation, May 13th,
We
5:45
won't be
p.m.
doing that.
No
and-
meeting,
Well,
canceled?
you know the situation
Yeah.
right now. We're working towards
Okay.
getting it up and running again.
So that'll be canceled. The zoning board is June 12th at 6 p.m. Planning board, May 15th, 6:30 p.m. And the town board meeting with a public hearing on May 29th at 6 p.m. with that. And also, the town hall will be closed on May 26th, I think. What date is that? Yep, May 26th, correct? For in observance of Memorial Day. With that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.